alert system. What do you mean you're at Centre Parcs? Yeah, you said you were. This is unprofessional, this, Dave. I'm due to go live, and he said, "Oh, hi, hello, welcome to Lattice Football 14 with me, Matt Dean, and Dave Bradley, who's in Centre Parcs, and he should be here. You better have some kind of a Wi-Fi signal. Have you got a Wi-Fi signal, Dave?
I have. Wagwan. You all right?
All right, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Just stop the geocaching. I did put my annual leave in by the company requirements, and you did approve it.
Got a memory like a sieve, though, haven't I? Memory like a sieve.
Well, you will burn the candle at both ends, Matthew.
That's why I'm a Latics fan. I can handle it because I've got a really bad memory. So, like, by the time Saturday comes round, it's like, oh, give it another go again. It's fine. Forgetting how terrible it all was the week before. Are you having a nice time, Dave? I thought you were drunk, but apparently it's just chlorine in your eyes. Is that right?
Yeah, loads of chlorine. This daily chlorine intake does puff up the eyes. Plus the odd pint at dinner time may have something to do with it. But you have to get through it somehow with the kids and the wife nagging at you and taking all your money.
I just got images of you like floating around on big rubber rings with a can of IPA in your hand and a Scotch egg.
No, beef paste, because of the crumbs of the Scotch egg will just go into the pool. So
because you love the taste. You mean?
I do all over my face.
It's all over your face. Yeah. Funnily enough, no one has asked us to play the jingle again from last week's beef paste jingle.
Well, that's what happens when we're ahead of our time. A bit like Kraftwerk. So.
Yeah, no, I've seen that written that we are the Kraftwerk of podcasts and football phone-ins.
Yeah, well, that's it's a compliment. I'll take it every time. So, yeah.
And there's no ref review. There's no ref review, is there?
There's no ref review now because I work at Southend because my wife said she divorced me if I'd went on the. I think going to Stevenage by a great.
That must have been tempting, Dave. That must have been tempting.
Swiftly.
I know. I spoke to Mrs. Bradley on the car phone. She seems very nice.
Yeah, seems is a big word, Matthew. Seems is a big word.
What are you supping?
A shandy, Carlsberg, because I'm ever the professional.
You are.
Yeah. What are you supping?
Cider, as usual. Strongbow.
Okay, nice.
Well, it's all right. We saw this out at the shop. At the shop, near the studio, they've got Strongbow or K cider, which is 7.5%, and it kind of knocks your socks off. So I've had two of them while I'm presenting. By the end of it, I don't know what I'm saying. So
yeah, I've been there. I've had to put you in the car a few times, haven't I? When you've
you have. Yeah.
So are you looking forward to weekend, bank holiday?
Well, I mean, speaking of drink, with Friday night game against Aldershot. I mean, if that doesn't bring out the tens of thousands of Latics fans, I don't know what's going to. But yeah, it's nice to be able to finish work on a Friday, go to the pub, head down to the match in a warm climate. They're lucky to come up from Aldershot in the summer to Oldham because it is bloody freezing, as we all know, in the winter time. And it'll be nice to have a Friday night match and then get on it after Dave. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're about in the Fox and Pine pre-game, come and say hello and buy us a drink and then leave us. And then meet us in Brighton after the game and buy us a drink and just leave us alone again. That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
No, I'm joking. Come and say hello, but don't hit us.
No,
please.
No. If you're going to hit any of us, hit Dave because he's bigger than me.
Yeah, but the bigger they are, the harder they cry. So that's what. Yeah.
Oh, baby David.
Yeah.
And then after that, Dave, it's York City.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. following my Centre Parcs week of hell, I've booked myself 2 days in York with my lovely lady wife to relax after our week of 2 kids and geocaching, mountain biking, rock climbing, everything that Centre Parcs does and charges you for stupidly for. It's the biggest con since Bitcoin going, really. So yeah,
well, that's ruined our chances of this podcast ever being sponsored by Centre Parcs, Dave. So thanks for that.
Well, we've always got ship'ems, mate. We've always got ship'ems.
I believe it's your wife's birthday on... What date's your wife's birthday? What date is it? Is it the 29th of...
29th, yeah.
29th of August, which is the day we play York City, I believe.
Yeah.
You'll be meeting us. You'll be meeting us in the pub in York at what time, Dave?
10 a.m. No, about 10 past 10 a.m. I'm
So
very understanding.
So you're going up to York, taking your wife up there for a birthday, and then ceremoniously leaving her on her own on the actual day of her birthday to come to the match.
I can see this being like Johnny Depp and that Amber Heard record. This is going to be played out in the bloody divorce court. This, thanks a lot, mate. But yeah, but she's an understanding lady. She gets that Oldham was there before her, and probably will be after her at this rate anyway. So yeah, I've definitely pulled a fast one. So yeah. Thanks, Matt,
sounds
for reminding me. I'm
right.
going to go out live on wherever you get your podcasts.
No problem, Dave. So listen, we're going to bring in, we've got 2 guests lined up. We've got no callers, right? Waiting from Latix fans. Latix fans, I don't know where you are, but I'm just copying the stream thing into the YouTube. There you go. So click on the link. It's on Twitter as well to come and join the conversation. What we do have, thankfully, Nick and Simon waiting in the background. And Nick is going to come on first because he is representing Aldershot, who we play on Friday. And according to this person who doesn't have a name as such, just goes by the number of 786, which I think is quite mysterious. I don't know what it represents. But 786 thinks that Shares has to win on Friday and there's no excuses. Presumably because 786 thinks that Aldershot are shite. So to tell us why Aldershot aren't totally shite and are very capable of beating us on Friday, regarding despite Shez's excuses or not, is Nick. Here he is. Hi, Nick.
Hello. How you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Thank you.
Good. Tell us who you are. Like I felt like Cilla Blight or Graham. Tell us your name, where you come from,
Where you
and
come
all that.
from?
Yeah.
So my name's Nick. I'm on the supporters club at Aldershot, and I'm a season ticket holder. Have been for many, many years. And in my part time, I write books about following Aldershot on their travels and their adventures to. Well, they always start out as being the search for glory, but they always end up as being commiserating in the pub.
Yeah,
really good read.
Slab life. What does slab life mean?
It's the small corner of concrete in the southwest terrace of the ground, and it is literally a slab of concrete, and everybody knows it as the slab. So when you come into the home fans come in through the turnstile, one for the slab, please. And everybody who stands there is known as an old age slabber. It's like a retirement for football fans.
An old age slabber.
I'm getting the vibe. I'm getting the vibe. So
it's available on Amazon.
It's available on Amazon, yeah. So if you like a football book, then there you go.
And it will tell you all you need to know about the teams and the towns that you're going to visit this year.
Because you didn't miss a game for a year, is that right? A season. You went to every single game and you reported back on it.
It's longer than that, but that was last season was home and away every single game.
So you know this division well.
Yes. Except never heard of Oldham before. Never heard of Oldham before.
No, well, I mean, we've been elevating at a far loftier height than you have, you see, and that you will have been well out of your radar. So, but now, due to some severe gravitational pull, which has rendered us completely helpless, we're now We're now stuck in the National League. And I'm saying that after how many games we played? 4.
Yeah.
And we're saying we're stuck. I don't know how long we're going to be down. Hopefully not for very long, but it's a heck of a swamp of a division, isn't it?
Have you heard of Icarus, Matt? I think, flying too close to the sun might be comes to mind here at the moment, mate. Jesus.
Oh, come on. You mean, listen, I'm very balanced. I'm very balanced and realistic about who we are, where we are. I'm just having a bit of fun with Nick. But Nick, I mean, I remember Aldershot being in the Football League. When was the last time you were saying before you went bust in '92?
Yeah.
But when was the last time you were in the Football League?
So we did get back into the Football League in 2007, 2008, when we had a storming year with Sir Gary Waddock as our manager. But we only lasted 5 years. I think the story goes that I don't know why I snigger then, because it starts off being not very funny and it carries on being not very funny. But our owner and chairman, John McGinty, was absolutely loved by the fans, loved by the club, and was just an absolutely wonderful guy who loved the club. But he unfortunately died the year after we got promoted. And the club was then bought by a Polish lottery winner. Oh. And I think what Shots fans learnt was the Polish lottery isn't anywhere near as generous as Euro Millions. And 2 or 3 years later, he ran out of money. So we ended up getting relegated and starting our first season in the conference with I think it was a 10-point deduction, which in some ways was it wasn't quite good. It was anything but good, but it did galvanise the fans together because there was a clear target, and we really felt like we were the underdogs, and we needed to pull together in order to overcome that. But I was something popped up on my Twitter feed today that 11 years ago today we were at West Ham in a League Cup match, and West Ham went 1-0 up before the mighty Shots came back and won 2-1. So that's probably our last moment of glory. Yeah,
and you don't forget them, do you? When they're so rare, we're the same. I'm looking at the National League table now. You're sitting third from bottom on 3 points. So you've drawn? No, you've lost 3, and you've what's that? No,
and we've won 1. Lost 3 and won 1.
The 1, 3. Yeah, that's right. Lost 3 and won 1. Yeah, on 3 points. How's it gone? I mean, were they close defeats? That were you well beaten or what?
This question depends upon your whether you're a glass half full or a glass half empty kind of person.
True. Yeah.
So there is a section of our fan base who are probably like a section of your fan base saying we should be doing better than that. We shouldn't be down this level. But we're 3 points better off after 4 games than we were last season. And we're 2 points ahead of Halifax. And Halifax last season had the meanest defence in the league. So if you'd have said to us before a ball was kicked, would you be happy with being two league places, 2 points above Halifax? I'm sure we'd have bitten your hand off for that.
Yeah, having not expected Halifax to be rock bottom, though. Their manager, Pete Wild, has gone to Barrow. He's one of our own, Pete Wild. He's one of our own. And we suspect he'll be back at some point in the future to manage us because he's
when you get into the championship.
Well, I'm hoping he's going to get us into the championship. That's the hope. But
so I think our 4 games, we got absolutely mullered on the opening fixture by Solihull. We were really good for the first 15 minutes. Solihull scored. We came straight back at them and got a good equaliser. But then I think their class just showed. They've got a really good forward line. They're really good. You wait till you play them. They're a good team. So they thrashed us. But we were in it until the last couple of goals went in. Then we had Chesterfield away. That's always a really, really tough gig, particularly with their budget. And if you look at the lineup and some of the players they've got, I mean, beginning of last season, I think they had 7 strikers, any of whom would get into any other National League team. It's just an awesome lineup.
I watched them on BT against Notts County at the weekend. That was a really good game, actually. But the first half, they absolutely murdered Notts County, and Notts County came back into it. 2 good teams. Like, it was, you could see the difference in this is. I mean, because actually, Wheelstone and Dorking both play quite well. So, it's tough, isn't it? So what was next?
To go to get Chesterfield, we were competitive and we lost 1-0, but that was a near miss.
Yeah.
Which probably sounds worse than it was. Then we went to Boringwood last Tuesday, I think it was, and we won 2-1. We rode our luck a little bit. Boringwood really came at us. Certainly the last 15 minutes was how they didn't score more than one, I don't know.
That's a good result, isn't it, as well? And because they've got a really good defence, haven't they? They were really strong last season, weren't they?
Yeah. But then Bromley seem to play a fairly similar kind of style, which is they like to impose themselves. They're physical where they need to be physical, cynical fouls where they need to put cynical fouls in. But they have got good players. They are well drilled. They all know what they're going to do. They like to get a goal ahead and then just close up the shot, put 11 players behind the ball. And that's what Bromley did for us on the last game. They won 1-0. And again, we had a lot of possession and just couldn't break through the 11-man defence. So I think we're probably disappointed. We'd have hoped we'd have got a point from Bromley. We were close to getting a point from Chesterfield. So Solihull's the only one where we've been really well beaten. But we've got a couple of easy games coming up with Oldham and Maidstone.
Yeah, his Maidstone got thumped, didn't they, off Dorking 4-2 at the weekend. How do you tend to travel as a team? Are you good on the road?
Yeah, much better on the road than we are at home.
Yeah. What about on a Friday night, though? That's curveball, isn't it?
Never
Does
done
it
it
matter?
before.
Tuesday nights, Friday nights, Saturdays.
But we didn't have a midweek game this week, so the players are going to be rested, and they get up there, have Friday, and they'll be partying on the bus on the way back because they'll be so buoyed up with the 3 points.
Doing shots on the bus.
Yeah.
Shots on the bus.
And then they'll have Saturday to recover so that they're fresh to go on Monday as well. Easy. What can go wrong?
Absolutely. Nothing.
Well, I was looking at your form of late, and it, even going into last season, it does seem you're a team that either scores very early but you concede rather late as well. Looking at like last season as well, you are object of a late goal, but not really much to worry about with us because we can't score. But
that's very, very impressive research for somebody who's on holiday.
Yeah, well, just
you're a professional.
Well, one of us has to be, don't they, Matt? No, but I think looking at it, I think you are. As I say, it gives me a bit of confidence if we could score, but we're not scoring, so that's my concern.
So I don't know what the stats were, but the number of goals we conceded between, say, 43 minutes and the whistle blowing in the first half, or 88 minutes and the whistle blowing at the end of the second half, it must have been at least half. It was crazy. So even when I
counted about 12, 15, and then I stopped looking because it was quite
depressing.
The algorithm was very much very much. But so looks like you've got a team that sort of loses the concentration in the last few minutes of each game, and we suffered from that, didn't we? That last season and towards the end, in our relegation battle in D1 and 2, the amount of 90th minute goals that we conceded or gave away a penalty, it was quite harrowing to look at because it was looking at our stats last season. So yeah, it's
amazing how much luck. It's amazing how much luck there is in football. So Boringwood could easily have snuck 2 goals at the end, but we managed to hold on. Bromley snuck a goal, we couldn't get one back. It's fine margins. But you're right. This season we look to be a bit stronger. I think Joe Partington's a really good addition. The 2 Wealdstone lads that we signed, they look to be really good from the games that I've seen them in. So fingers crossed, we will do significantly better than last year. And with Ini Effiong as a striking partner for Harry Peniatu up front, then that should add a bit more steel as well.
What kind of football do you play then? What can we expect? Because I think that the 2 games we've had at Boundary Park this season, we've been really impressed by the attacking. Dorking left themselves too open. That was their downfall. But we've seen 2 teams that wanted to pass the ball around. The movement was very good. They were on the front foot. It wasn't. We were the ones playing the long balls and the kind of the boring stuff. What's Aldershot's game like?
All Aldershot fans will tell you that the fans really do expect passing, movement, quick decisions, quick play. And the criticism for last season was that we were too slow to respond with the long ball when the game was running away from us, and we didn't really have that plan B. So for much, and certainly the first half of the season, it was a very we'll carry on playing the ball out. We'll try and create the opportunities so that we can move forward. But there comes a time when you're chasing the game in the 90th minute where you just literally need to throw absolutely everything up front and give it a go. So I think you could probably expect us to start by looking to keep the back fairly tight. And then as we realise that we've got you where we need you, we'll probably open up a little bit, and then you'll see a bit more attacking intent. You see the wingers come into play, the fullbacks push up, and see some really exciting football.
Oh, leaving yourselves open for Jack Stobbs to get in behind you and kick all these crosses into the Chaddy end and the Rochdale Road end, and because we've struggled with width, haven't we, Dave? We've not had that game at all, have we? We've not got the balls down the flanks. Everything's been very narrow. When we do get wide, the crosses are going into the stands. It's been a bit grim, really. There's not been any real method to our play as such yet, has there? We've not found our stride going forward.
We're really struggling in terms of the shape and formation that we're playing. All right, we signed 9 new signings, I think. But I think the shape, playing a 3-5-2 in the National League is just... It's car crash material, if I'm honest with you. It's very, very worrying, especially when you've got a left-back in Francis Angol, who is a left-back and isn't a winger, who can't bomb up and down because by about 60 minutes he's knackered. And then you've got Jack Stobbs, who's an out-and-out winger, but a very abject one at that, who gets stuck on the halfway line all the time. He doesn't know when to attack or defend, so it's very,
reverse
very...
psychology, this, Nick. We're giving him this build-up so he has an absolute stormer on Friday, just to prove us all wrong. It seemed very much like he'd been putting his boots on his wrong feet last couple of games when he's tried to cross a ball, unfortunately.
We're a lot better when we're playing 4 at the back, but the manager does like to try for 5 at the back every now and again, and it doesn't work. It's never worked. Every game we play 5 at the back, we lose them.
Well, what happens is that all the managers see the top managers doing things with the top teams and think, yeah, I want to play like that, forgetting that they didn't spend £850 million on their squad or whatever for the ridiculous amount of money it is, and their players can't do it. So you've really just got to, like, at a certain point in football pyramid, you make your team do what your team can do well, and you don't try and, because you haven't got the budget and the options to bring, I want that player to do that player to do that. You've got to make do with what you've got, and you've got to be realistic about it. We've got someone called Mikey in the back room. I'm going to bring him in because I have no idea who it is. But let's bring in Mikey. Is Mikey listening? Take your mic off mute, Mikey, if you're listening and you're ready to come into the studio. Mike's still on mute. Mikey. Hello, Mikey.
Mike.
Mike. Why? No.
Mike.
Are you doing this? Just playing with us? All right. Well, if you do decide to, maybe he's at the fridge making a beef paste sandwich, Dave, or something like that.
Well, you can't blame him. You can't blame the guy.
Well, listen. Well, what we'll do? I just wanted to see what Michael. But we've got Simon, who's very, very patiently waiting there. I mean, I want to know what kind of needle there's been over the years between York and Aldershot. There might be something, that we don't know about, which could get quite tasty when we bring Simon in. So I'm hoping that there is there. Maybe Nick, when he was traveling the country, went up to York, and I don't know what might have happened. But let's talk to Simon first anyway. Hello, Simon. Welcome to the show.
Evening, chaps. You all right?
Yeah. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Not too bad on a Wednesday evening, anyway. No,
yeah.
I can't think of anything in terms of having any sort of massive issues with Aldershot from the top of my head. I'm sure I'll probably get some other fans telling me otherwise. But go on, you're going to tell me something now.
I've got 2 York bits on my radar. One, no, they're not negative. It's okay.
All right.
So, have you read Dave Roberts' book?
No, I haven't.
Home and Away. 32 programs. He wrote a book, 32 programs. So unfortunately, he died fairly recently, but He was moving to the States with his wife, and he assumed that he would take all of his collection of 1,200 programs with him. And his wife soon corrected him and said, you can take one Tupperware box. So he had to decide which were the 32 programs that would fit in the box that he was going to take with him. So there's essentially 32 chapters in the book, maybe a forward as well, 32 chapters, which say these are the programs that I chose. And one of them was York versus Aldershot. Can't remember anything more about it, but York versus Aldershot.
Okay.
and the other historic downer that I did have on York was 80. It must have been at the late 80s when we briefly got into Division 3, as it then was.
Yeah.
And we played Sunderland at home, which for anybody in that league was Sunderland, well, it probably still is, just an absolutely massive game. And we beat Sunderland at home. This is plucky little Aldershot beat Sunderland at home, which was absolutely amazing. And the following week we played York City at home. York having lost every single game for the previous 18 months, and they turned us over.
We all knew that were coming, Nick. We knew that was coming. That is one of those football things, isn't it? That
I didn't need to finish it.
Well, maybe tonight we can start something between York and Aldershot. Maybe this is the root of it. One of those strange little things that happens in football. But before we get onto that, before we start causing trouble between York and Aldershot, does anyone know when the last time Oldham played York? Because we've got you on Bank Holiday Monday. 99.
Yeah.
And what was the
score?
Did
we beat you 1-0? 1-0.
Yeah. Because we'd won the previous one over Christmas in 98. Obviously, over that same season, which was 2-0, we won at your place.
I think it was Andy Holt scored as well. I think Andy Holt scored for London.
I think that sounds about right. Yeah.
So you must have been in League One or Division 3, whatever at the time, was it?
I think we've done. These last probably 30, maybe 20, 30 years is probably the lowest we've really been, to be honest. We've always been a steady League Two before we were relegated in 2003 into what was then labelled as the Conference. We'd been a very steady League Two side. We actually started that season as well. The season that just kind of went from bad to worse, to be honest. We started it well, even though we'd just sacked our manager, Terry Dolan, at the time. Chris Brass was then put in charge, the youngest ever league manager to ever take charge of a club at 27 years old, which even in the modern game still seems very young for anyone to take charge of a club. And we started very well that season. We were in and around the playoffs, and then we just couldn't win a game. And then we went out of the Football League, almost went bust as well. That obviously over those couple of years, it was a really tough time in terms of the running of the club. And we had a guy called John Batchelor who seemed to try and make a stake for other teams. And I think the last time before he passed away a few years back, I think he tried to do this whole takeover of Mansfield, having already been in charge of ourselves. He was a racing tycoon, as he labelled himself. And he was basically I was about 12, 13 at that point, so I was still fairly young to remember the full details, and I'm sure, again, someone will probably correct me on it. But as far as I'm aware, he was basically taking money out of the club, putting it into his racing fund. And it just kind of seemed to go from bad to worse with us on that over that time. And then, we have ended up in the Conference. And then, but the best, I think probably our best fact is that we were the first team to ever gain 100 points in a league season. So that's my fun fact for you if you didn't know that already.
It's a shame you can't save them in the bank, and then just call on them at some point, being the first team to get that 100, because they would have come in handy, wouldn't they, at certain points over your history. We've got a thing on the podcast which is out on a Monday morning, and we've got a competition at the minute running called Latix Mind, which is there's no copyright infringement, and we don't use the Mastermind theme tune or anything like that. Yeah, we do. But our current leader, we've only had 3 people on it, is Paddy. He won't win because we're going to fix it. We're going to make sure he doesn't win, even if he does. But anyway, apparently we stayed up at York's expense in '99. We beat Reading, and they lost to City on the final day.
Well,
So-
ask Paddy who scored the goals for Oldham on the day we beat Reading, because I know the answer. We won 2-0. So we'll leave that for Paddy.
Look, Paddy's there with no Google on his phone.
No. Well, if he
you
answers
don't
after
need
about
it.
2 minutes.
He's the Latics mind. You don't need it. So how long have you been down there? Because I mean, I think. Sorry, I do this. Ask a question and then start talking. But we'll come back to the original question. But York is a great city, innit? It's a great place. You know, it's a famous place. It's a lovely place to visit. Lots of history. Lots of it's just a great. It's one of the big northern towns, isn't it? Big northern cities. Not massive like a Leeds, but you'd think it's got a name, it's got stature, and to have be a great away day and all that kind of stuff. And like you say, you've got a lovely stadium and everything. What's it like, or what's it been like, and how long have you been out of the league now, and what's it been like for that amount of time struggling away?
So obviously we got relegated 2003. And then the next time we were back in the Football League was 2012, where we had our Wembley double season. So we played at Wembley twice in the space of 7 days, won both of those games, won the FA Trophy, and then we beat Luton in the playoff final 2-1, having gone a goal behind that day. And yeah, we thought that was it. We thought that was our route out of non-league football. And then, given this last 10 years or so, we've had absolute, just the polite way of putting it is absolute. It's just been absolute chaos. I think there's been a few times where we've had a few things go national with some of the things that have gone on with our club. So, in I think it was 2016. It might have been, actually no, the year before that, we hired Celtic legend Jackie McNamara as our new manager, and from then on, it really just went to absolute pot. We'd had a good couple of seasons under Nigel Worthington where we had a great time with him. I think we went unbeaten in about 17 league games, made it into the playoffs in League Two. Now, our goalkeeper that day, just to clarify, because I just think it's mad even to think about it now that he was our goalkeeper on loan at the time. But we had Nick Pope as our number one that season.
We've had him.
Yeah, honestly, he's probably the best goalkeeper I've seen play for us in my lifetime.
He was brilliant at the weekend.
Yeah,
against City, made some brilliant saves. And we also had at fullback a 17, 18-year-old Ben Davis, who was at Preston, signed up by Liverpool, and I think he's just gone on loan somewhere and had his career ruined by Liverpool, I think. But yeah, two great players, and we went unbeaten for about 17 league games and got beat by Fleetwood in the playoffs, who had Jamie Vardy, I believe, in their starting 11 that day. And yeah, we had a poor start to the next season. Couldn't replace the key player in Nick Pope, obviously, because you knew you were never going to get anyone of his class at that level in another couple of seasons. So we struggled to replace him. We ended up signing a lad called Tommy Mooney I think he was from Tranmere, who was 6'9", and we obviously tried to replicate having some big stature in goal and it just kind of started going wrong around just before Christmas, and Nigel Worthington then stepped aside. But yeah, we went from basically challenging for League One to then being relegated. Jackie McNamara took charge after Russ Wilcox, who we got from Scunny that season. Just turned into a massive car crash, to be honest. And he then we ended up having a 6-1 defeat at Guiseley. It just got worse and worse. He then supposedly resigned when actually he was then made a director of football at the club instead. So he got taken out of the management role and then got promoted to being working upstairs. How anyone can think that is a logical decision is beyond me. And then we ended up being relegated 2 seasons running from the conference into the National League North, and then the Lord and Saviour that is John Askey has come in and worked absolute miracles in this last took over from Steve Watson in November,
we were basically a side that just couldn't win a game. We couldn't. See, it feels like such a distant memory now. But what John Askey's done since he's taken over, he ended up taking us into playoffs, which we had no right in even being in. But here we are, and we're now back at a level where I think most York fans would probably say is probably an absolute lifesaver for us as a club, but also just at a level where I think many of us would agree is about our level at the moment, considering the money that is being thrown around in the National League. And honestly, that's in the space of the last 4 or 5 years since we were last in there for that one season when we were relegated. The money in there now is a whole different ball game.
And how did you? Because obviously a lot of us we've sold out our allocation for York because we're massive, obviously. So like 1,400 tickets. To be fair, we'd have sold more. I think if you'd give us 2,000, we'd have sold it. And partly because you're one of the northern teams in the division because they're all down south and miles away, but barely a roof between them. So we're going to York, with a brand new stadium. A lot of fans will have been to. Was it Bootham Crescent?
Crescent? Yeah.
I never went, but a lot of our fans will have been. But obviously, most of our fans want this is a new ground, and it looks like a lovely stadium. How did that come about? And where did the money come from and whatnot?
This has been in place, I think, since around we were in all these financial difficulties. So one of our former chairmen, he decided to sell the assets to the ground. So he sold the ground off completely as a bit of a money thing for himself. Douglas Craig was his name, and this is when we went through so much trouble during that time, and then eventually the Supporters Trust took charge, and we were able to take a football fund loan of 2 million, which then allowed us to have the money aside to pay for this stadium, which we've been waiting 20 years for this stadium, so to finally actually getting it feels like it's been a long time coming. But do
the fans like the new stadium? Because we talk at Aldershot quite a lot about, because ours is probably one of the oldest stadiums that you're ever going to visit. I was saying earlier, one of our stands dates back to 1932, I think, and it hasn't changed during that time. And whenever we talk about it, there's a section of, and admittedly, it's the older fans who are saying, no, we love what we've got and we don't want to see any change. But having built the new ground, have all the fans come around to it? Is there still a section who look back on Bootham Crescent?
I think the fact that we've had in our first full season in there, that we've had success in that first season is really helped to sort of bed in a little bit quicker. There's still I don't think you'll find a fan where they'll say it's still perfect. There's still a lot of things I think to make it feel a little bit more like home. There's areas where there's a lot of improvements to be made, because there's been a lot of history at Bootham Crescent, and it's been there for 90 years. And for many, it's not just been about the football. It's been a place where I think, as any football fan out there, they see as their football stadium of their club as a second home. They feel safe there. They get to go see their mates there week in, week out, and to then have that completely changed on you in the space of a couple of years, and you then move into this modern stadium, which all modern stadiums, I don't think you'll find anywhere where you'll go to someone, it looks great, but you aren't going to find anyone, in my eyes anyway, where you're not going to go, but it doesn't have that same character, because not a lot of them do really, do they, these days?
No.
But in terms of, I think in terms of the sort of the way it looks for a modern stadium, for a ground at this level, and I think a ground at National League North level, especially as we were last season, it is impressive. I think, like I say, I think you'll still find faults with it, because I think you're always going to, but I think that's just because it's still a new ground. But you may or may not have seen, we've just been taken over by, it's part owned by the Supporters Trust, and a new guy that's come in, which has been a change that has has been coming for a long while, seeing as the last 10 years have just been a disaster, to be polite, under the last 10 years since we were under the management of Jackie McNamara and all the decisions that was going on. Various family members of the club board left under a very dark cloud that has been made no secret that they fell out big time. And there's a lot of issues still there, but there's a lot of things that are also great for the club, and I think honestly it's going to be so good to actually have a what I'd label as a big side in the National League, and you get Aldershot as well. Some of the bigger sides that are actually going to come there, and not just have like what we did with Eastleigh on Saturday, where we've got about 60 odd people in there. So to actually have it filled out for every couple of weeks at this level is going to be an absolute bonus.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things I wanted to talk with some of the people like yourselves who've got a lot more experience of National League attendances and just playing in it and being in it. Because for me, local football is better. You know, the point that we're making about going to York and going down south and all that kind of stuff. You know, obviously there's bigger crowds. When Oldham play Bury, when Oldham play Rochdale, Huddersfield, whoever, like we'll take thousands, like we always have. And it's better atmosphere. It's just a better occasion. Obviously, once you go, so the National League, it's expensive for fans. They've got less fans. It's expensive for the clubs to travel around. Do you think that it'd be better if we had rather than having my thought process is that we'd be better off having a Northern League 2 and a Southern League 2 rather than having a National League and only having the National League in League 1. You know what I mean? And doing it that way. From your experiences, is that a stupid idea or is there some merit to it?
I mean, from a York City point of view, we've actually, so being in National League North, we've got a fair-sized fan base that actually are based in and around London. So we've got a southern branch of the club. So for the last 5 years, they've not really been able to get to a game apart from last season's FA Trophy run, where we had Bromley and Dagenham basically 2 rounds in a row. So for that just mainly basing it on that reason, I think it takes a lot of fun out of having those London trips. There's many a reason I could come up with for and against, to be honest with you, because I think it's certainly been an idea that's been toyed around for a few years, where having League 2 probably downwards is a more regionalised football pyramid, but I suppose it just depends on how you look at it and some of the mileage, because I don't know if you've ever looked at the National League North table, but there's some sides in there where you do actually even have to question whether they're a Northern team in the first place.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's never going to be perfect. Never going to be perfect, is it, Nick? You've done a lot of those miles, haven't you? What do you think about it?
So I thought similarly, and presumably for the clubs, it would make a big difference. So there's no argument about overnight stays. The travelling is a lot more affordable. So that, and as a fan, going somewhere which is 2 hours up the road is kind of a lot easier than going somewhere which is 5 or 6 hours up the road. But having discussed that with some of my friends over the last few years and held that view, the fans who travel to every single game would hate it. The fans who actually travel to the away games love the longer distance trips. Because where else am I? Name me another reason that I'm going to find myself in Oldham.
I mean, there are arguments to suggest that would be a good thing, as well. But...
Well, we have envy. We have, we did have revivals that went, so that's a reason not to be in Oldham.
But it's
no, I agree.
I get that.
Going to Wrexham, going to Grimsby, these places were just awesome. They were just absolutely fantastic weekends away.
Yeah, I do get it. It's just it is something. I think that there are, like you said, there's pros and cons for both. But I think what you're talking about there is you're talking about a hardcore of people that will travel regardless. And whereas the majority of fans, I remember us selling out the away end at Huddersfield, packing that end behind the goal at Huddersfield. Fantastic. There's within a certain radius of Boundary Park, we'll travel in massive numbers. And then obviously like Southend at the weekend, we had 300 down there, which is still, all things considered, a decent turnout. At the beginning of the season, we had around about 1,000, went down to Torquay. Fantastic. But that's not normal, is it? As the season goes on and all the rest of it. So,
and when you're here for your 5th or 6th or 7th season,
well, exactly. It gets harder and harder and harder. Yeah, exactly.
Nick. Come on, mate.
Let's
Sorry,
just see.
No.
Yeah, no. The rules are you've got to give us grief, as much grief, and we'll give you grief, and that's part and parcel. We've got someone it's either AI and it's artificial intelligence waiting to come in, or it's Al. And I don't know. They're in the thing like we did with Mikey or Mickey or wherever it was. So is it Al, AI, artificial intelligence? Can you hear me? See, this is the thing with artificial intelligence. It's artificial. This is like what working with Dave every week. You've got artificial intelligence.
Yeah, well, I just asked Jeff Bezos about that AI and all that rubbish.
Well, listen, just talking about intelligence. Well, not quite intelligence, but knowledge. Paddy answered your question earlier on after he Googled it. Was he right?
Bang on, yeah.
Yeah, bang on. I mean, he could have Googled it, but I mean, he is the Latics Mind table leader with 7 points. So,
can I just go back to Simon? Can I go back to Simon about John Askey? Because I'm very, very worried about the game against York, because he's a very, very good manager at non-league level, isn't he? Because he plays a very high pressing game, and he adopts the 4-3-3, but usually a 4, but he drops to a 4-4-2 when you're feeling the pressure. So you've always got that extra man in midfield, haven't you? When you get the press, and then the other team, we try and counter, you drop it back to a 4-4-2 very quickly. And Askey is a very, very direct sort of manager in terms of the high press all the time, isn't it? And that really concerns me, what we've got at the moment.
Yeah, I was thinking that as you were saying it, Dave.
He's probably one of the best managers we've had since Gary Mills, I'd probably say, in terms of the way he plays anyway. Results-wise, obviously, you can't. Nigel Worthington was brilliant, but in terms of just the detail that he puts into each game, he's also very clever in the way he goes about just little things. Like, I think, for example, our main centre forward, which is at the minute John Lewis, who we signed from Grimsby last season on loan, he played a key part in our playoff run. He just seemed to score every game, and he carried a knock in one of those games in the run up to the playoff final, and he made out that he was going to be injured, he was going to be missing. Team sheet came out 2:00. There he was, starting up front. No, nothing. He's a very sly man, but in the best possible sense, the sort of manager that you just want managing your club. And there's no surprise that he's been linked as one of the favourites for the Rochdale job, which I think is just rumours. But
step down that, mate, going from York to Rochdale.
I mean,
was there a rumour at the start of the season that he was very unhappy with the lack of signings and he was looking to leave? I heard there's a lot of rumours going around there.
There's a lot of rumours.
Give a bit of an ultimatum to the board.
I think there was a lot of issues with pre-season. Pre-season didn't go to plan for us. We didn't win. We won one game, and that was against Selby Town, which is
Selby Town, 3-0.
Not exactly something that is going to excite anybody. But obviously, we started the season well. The game against Woking, as you say, we played with a high press. We absolutely dominated Woking, and to be honest, after the way we played against them, I'm surprised that they've gone on to do as well as they have done since, because they were so poor against us in that game. But like I say, I think the links with these big jobs that he's been getting in the Football League for Notts County as well at the start of the season, before the season had even begun, it just kind of shows what a job he's been doing down here. Is just very much has this thing about detail. He'll look at videos over and over again, and I think it's just one of these things what I think we all take for granted, that all all managers will do at any level, but I think after a while you find out some are definitely not all they're cracked up to be. But John Askey I think fell on his feet with the way he fell into the job. He was made an interim manager as having been at the club for a week. When Steve Watson was here, we had a lot going on with a bit of a betting scandal with our assistant manager, who was then put on gardening leave at that point. So he brought him in as a bit of help. And then the following Saturday, out of nowhere, gets sacked, and he's put in charge for the rest of the season. Which,
how old is he, Simon?
He's about 52, I think.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah, he's got a good pedigree with Macclesfield, because when Macclesfield didn't have the financial trouble, so for Macclesfield, before they went into like the relegation area, they were hitting like 15th for League Two. It's not bad for Macclesfield considering they were getting 2,500 fans. He's signed some good players. He's got an eye for good players. Like, is it Scott Borden as well?
We've got Scott Borden from Boreham Wood, and I mean he's not by any means going to score loads of goals for you, but I think I said this on our podcast at the start of the season, that John Askey plays in a way where he expects everyone to chip in with goals. We're not gonna go and spend silly money. I mean, we can't afford to at this level as it is, unless you're Wrexham.
He scored 11 in 40 for Boreham Wood, didn't he? Yeah. 11 in 40. It's 1 in 4. That's what you need from an impact sub, and that's what I sort of see from Borden. It's
the worry though. It's a worry, Simon, isn't it? When you get that momentum with a manager, and you start winning games, and people start to admire the way that the game's being played, and jobs start coming available, because you've got a new stadium, you've got momentum, you've got a manager that is right and a right fit with the players that you've got, and you want to keep it, don't you? And it's so frustrating when you support clubs at a certain level where you just know you're just praying, aren't you? Basically, that you keep him for another season, and you takes you to another level, and it's a worry, isn't it, that you're going to lose him clearly.
Yeah. It's one of them. It's one of them where you kind of have to say, like, thanks for you've got to be grateful for the job that they've done. But
yeah,
I'm hoping, as has been pointed out in the last 24 hours about what the work that he's been doing at the club, and the sort of the atmosphere at the club at the minute, the way the club's now being run by, and it's owned by the fans. He's got a good relationship with the new chairman, and I think there's a lot of things that seem to be more right than wrong at the club at the minute, and I think to go to a club like Rochdale, who have not managed to win a game yet, there's obviously a lot of issues there. You go into a club that have all these issues going on. Do you really want to leave something that you've got a good thing going for? And again, with the sort of facilities that we do have at this level, he's managed to do a lot that has been great for us. And would you want to really leave what he's already started to build? Because there's no secret that we're on probably a bit of a 5-year plan in terms of building to get back into the Football League, because that's where anyone wants to be in the National League. But
York have got there's realistic. It's realistic for York to have those aspirations, is what I'm trying to say, isn't it?
Yeah,
absolutely.
He's as you touched on as well before about his recruitment. His recruitment has just been spot on. I mean, we've made 16 new signings this summer, so there's been a massive overhaul in terms of how we're expecting to sort of perform, but certainly earlier on in this part of the season. And once that side gels, I'm hoping that we're going to see some good things. Maz Kuyar is probably our top player that we've had in the last year or so, and he's going to cause a lot of clubs problems over the coming season. So I'll be keeping an eye on him. And if he's still here at the end of the season, I'd be very, very surprised, because he's a great talent.
We need to nick some of the best players of some of these teams, Dave, don't we? We desperately, when he come and play for Oldham, he's been in the Premier League.
Yeah, well, Paddy McLaughlin is one who I like to see at York. He's a great player. I've seen him a few times. He's when I was commentating a few games for Live Sports. He's a solid defender. Really good player. Really good player.
He's done very well. Yeah, because he was part of our original squad in 2012, and then he left and then came back again. And at this level, he's probably one of the best passing midfielders in the division. But sadly, he's had some sort of issue with his hip, which we don't actually know how long he's out for yet. I don't think Askey knows how long he's going to be out for. So it's going to be a shame to see how he gets on. We just seem to be picking up a lot of injuries at the minute. That's our only issue, is that we've had players hobble out of games. I think unless anything changes, there's 5 missing at the moment, but whether any of them will be fit for Saturday, I don't know, because all 3 of our substitutions on Saturday against Eastleigh, they're all substitutions that were enforced because of injury. So it'll be an interesting game on Monday for definite, and also for us on Saturday as well. We've got a couple of toughies coming up, really. I say toughies. Monday particularly is definitely going to be our biggest game. But if we can perform like we did against Solihull last Wednesday, then we've got every chance of competing, I think, in the top 10. But I think any York City fan as well would also take a top half finish this season, and anything better than that is going to be a bonus for us.
It's funny how there's kind of like comparisons between teams that have come down and teams that have come up. You've come up and you want to consolidate in the division. Obviously, a lot of teams that have come down want to go straight back up again. That's really, really hard. A lot of teams that come down from the National League have come down because they're in a mess, like Scunthorpe and like we are, and other clubs. You don't get into one of the bottom 2 relegation spots in the whole country, to being the 91st and 92nd worst team in the whole country without your club being in a bit of a mess. So, we've got this debate within our fan base of whether we should be happy to consolidate, finish around. We've not had a top 10 finish since 2009, so in any division. So, like, to just settle, get the best players we can, and then add to them next season and build and move forward. I mean, we've got this from Rob. Says that 4 games in, I already won the National League to be regional. I said this when we were in League 2. Okay, so I just want to point that out.
Is it because you don't want to visit Aldershot?
Yes.
Trust me, if I don't want to do something, I won't do it. So I won't be forced to visit Aldershot.
Do research on away teams. Yeah, if you don't want to do it, he never does it and then blames me.
No, I'm not easily persuaded. And Dave, trust me, Dave will mither me to go to Aldershot and loads of other places that I don't want to go, and on some of them I'll give in and I'll go, and some I won't. But
I do like Rob's further comment of saying ignore 5-year plans. I mean, the last time I did pay attention to a 5-year plan, we were told that we were going to be a very steady League One team, and this was when Nigel Worthington took charge a few years back, and that chairman has now been forced out of our club. So yes, I won't be taking it too seriously, that's for sure. But what I would say about having ambitions for the National League, now we've been in and out of it what feels like so many times in these last 10, 20 years or so, is that I'll say right now that it's probably the toughest division alongside the Championship. I'd probably put it as high up as that at the moment, especially when you've only got 2 places up for grabs for promotion.
Right, so there we go. Your question was, should League 2 and Conference or the National League be regionalised? Yeah. What about keeping it as 2 national leagues, but having 3 up, 3 down rather than 2 up, 2 down?
Yeah, I mean, that would be the first logical step, I think, definitely. For me, definitely. Yeah.
It seems to be the League 2 teams who don't want to vote for it,
which is understandable.
I think if you look back to the whole PPG situation during lockdown and the way where teams were trying to decide on it, everyone's in it for themselves at the end of the day, aren't they? They're not going to want to vote for anything that is going to cause them having an extra place for relegation. That's just the way.
But actually, in some ways, that's quite short-sighted, because there's probably 2/3 of the chairman of League 2 teams who are now facing themselves in the conference.
Yeah, because obviously it was York, and I think, if I'm right in thinking, Wellston, who were top of National League South at the time, with 2 sides that basically galvanised this whole operation to have the whole promotion playoff system back up and running for that, to finish that season off, which we obviously ended up losing in, of course. But
The current system is completely unfair for Wrexham to finish second on that many points and not go up last season. You know, I mean, no one's feeling too much sympathy for Wrexham. But the fact, the fact is you've got a whole, the point of a season is to perform over that whole season, and to get that many points and not go up is really unfair. There really needs to be 2 automatic places and a playoff place.
Yeah, from the time.
And the only way that that's going to be easily implemented, really, is if the Vanarama National League becomes the 5th division of the EFL. If the EFL can take on that league, then it's not so much of an argument then, because it's everyone's voting on it and it'll be easier to achieve.
Sorry to butt in. You look at that league table in National League now, and you actually look at some of the sides that are in League Two. I mean, there are the massive sides in National League now. They're even bigger than some of them that are in League One. You look at the likes of Burton Albion, for example, and those sort of teams. You just look how they can even manage to keep themselves going at those levels. But
yeah,
it is becoming a real beast of its own, I think, the National League, and it's why I say it is as tough as it is. And over these last 5 seasons, with the money that's been going around, that you look at Stockport, who went up last season, another big side who can afford League One wages. It is a real difficult task, but I do agree that there should definitely be a similar model to probably what is League Two at the minute, having 3 up, maybe having a playoff for a 4th side, having 4 come down from League Two. Because if you are struggling in League Two, you have obviously got issues going on with your club where you can't financially stay in that division. There's obviously some reason why you are struggling at those levels. So I think it's certainly something that needs to be brought into discussion. Whether it'll happen, though, is another thing. It's been something that's been mentioned many a time before now, even all this. But of course, Wrexham would probably cry about it because they have been in that division since. Well, they are the longest serving side in National League, I believe. So
the problem is for me on a national level is like when like we were saying earlier on, I think, Nick, it might have been before we actually started recording, but was certain teams throw a lot of money at it at the lower, in national, teams like Morecambe, Crawley, Forest Green, Salford, all these kind of teams come into the EFL, into the National Football League, and then what they contribute then to the broader game in terms of going away from home, traveling. Because obviously the higher up the divisions you get to, you go into the Championship, you're going to have your away end packed every single week. When Norwich came down to League One, Southampton came down to League One, they were bringing fans up all the way from Norwich and Southampton, thousands of them. It didn't matter because the club is that big that they will bring that many. And then the week after you've got Norwich one week, you bring 2,500, 3,000 fans with them, and then the week after you've got Morecambe, which is down the road, who bring however many hundred with them, and that's the difference. And that's where, for me, if you keep putting that money at the lower level and these teams coming up, they don't. It sounds bad because they're all entitled to their own level of success, but it kind of in some way takes away from the experience of teams like having Notts County up there and Wrexham, and teams that can travel around the country in numbers. And it's just about adding to that whole kind of match day experience, because a packed football ground, the busier the ground with home and away fans, the better the experience is for everybody. It's just a simple fact, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, but I think we had from Bromley on the last game, I think there was 70 fans travelled down, and it's an hour and a quarter away.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
So one thing which you will notice is that the ex-league clubs, or the clubs which have a league history, like York, like the Shots, will travel in reasonable numbers. I don't know what you like at York, but we generally take. I think last season we might have taken less than 100 to Dover, but Dover's a horrible place to go for watching a football match. But beyond that, we were generally 100, 150, 200. And for some of them, so when we went to Altrincham, we had about 350, and we were still in the relegation zone for that. So and I think that's probably the experience of most of the ex-league clubs. Well,
this is the thing. It takes time. It takes heritage. It takes 100 years to for a football club to become culturally so important and to be to have that reach through families, through generations, through towns. And it's not something that you can just like, we're going to make Salford City this next thing, or we're going to get Crawley Town into the Premiership. No, you're not. You don't have the fan base to sustain it. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
and if you haven't got the fan base to sustain it, then it has to be sustained through cash.
Yeah. Which is unsustainable.
And there ain't
and
many.
There's supposed to be financial fair play and all that kind of stuff. So it's
not in our league. Not in our league, there isn't.
No.
No, they were hoping to try and get a salary cap in, weren't they, as well for this season, but it's not happened again. So
anyway, we're gonna have to have another podcast.
Wait. It's 100 years for York City this season, isn't it? So I just want to say congratulations.
Thank you. It certainly is. And we've I don't know if you've seen our 2 centenary kits that we've released for this season, but they're absolute beauties. So
well, I hope, Simon, that we can add to the celebrations by scoring loads of goals at your place on Monday.
And help you get over the thrashing on Friday night.
Simon.
Yes.
If you wanted to get round your wife by going to a football match on her birthday, is there any nice, relatively inexpensive places in York that you would recommend?
Oh, is this for a drink or for food, though? That is the question.
Well,
we have
a bit of both.
For each day of the year in York. That's one of the famous facts. So you've got that. You can wine and dine wherever in all of however many acres. It depends what sort of food you like, though, mate. What do you like?
He likes beef paste. That's what you need to know about Dave. So it doesn't have to be very posh. I don't know about Mrs. Bradley. I presume her palate's a little bit more refined than Mr. Bradley.
Chicken pate.
Yeah, she's pate, you're paste. Right, yeah, Dave, that's what TripAdvisor and Google's for. Don't ask that.
All right,
don't put pressure on him. Right. Okay, so, well, let's go to predictions now before we finish for the evening. We on Friday night. Nick, you are travelling up.
Yes.
And you seem like a lovely fella. And, I hope you have a very pleasant trip and a very pleasant stay in Oldham. But obviously, I hope you leave pointless. How do you think you're going to cope?
2-1 win to the Shots.
Okay, I'm going to go... I'm going to reverse that score. I'm going to go a 2-1 win for the Latics. We really, really need to win on Friday. Dave, you don't do predictions. I want Simon.
4-0.
4-0. That's why you don't do
I can't see us winning 4-0.
No, neither can I. Or us. No, it's got 0-0 written all over it. Simon, when the mighty Oldham come and blow your socks off with our fantastic away support, that's all well and good. But can we blow your defence away? Or will you put us to the sword? What do you reckon is going to be the score on Monday?
Going by our performance on Saturday, which was absolutely one of the worst performances I've seen for a while, I'm probably going to say, do you know what I'm going to go with? I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw.
Okay.
Ooh.
We've won one on the road. We've drawn one on the road. We scored 1 goal.
We haven't won one on the road.
No, we haven't. I meant to say we've drawn one and we've lost one. Is what I meant to say.
Okay.
We scored 1 goal. It's gonna be a great support on Monday. I'm gonna go for.
It probably will end up 0-0.
Yeah, it probably will. I'm rubbish at predicting. I'm gonna go for another 2-1. I think we're gonna win both games 2-1.
3-1 Latics.
3-1 Latics. Yeah. Okay. We'll see, won't we? We'll see. But listen, the main thing is that we all have a lovely time supporting our football clubs this season, and we don't have too many issues, and we're not going bust and all that kind of scary nonsense, and which all 3 of our clubs have experienced, and we've really been through it. So I genuinely wish you both, after this weekend, a pleasant season. And when it's the reverse fixture, we'd love to talk to you again. Nick, in Oldham on Saturday. What time are you coming up to Oldham on Friday?
Hoping to get there for early afternoon.
Okay, well, the Fox and Pine then. We've got your details now, so let's meet up in Oldham, have a pint.
Brilliant.
Simon, on yeah, bring a book, yeah. If you can find us, Simon, in and amongst the thousands on we'll be taking over your town again on Monday. We're looking forward to it. So, but yeah, when you come to Oldham next time, give us a shout and we'll have a pint. Good to meet you both. Thank you very much for coming on.
No problem.
And we'll speak to you again. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
So
Cheers.
see you later, Nick, and see you later, Simon. David,
Matthew.
you make sure you get an early night. Don't drink too much IPA.
Oh yeah, Coast. Put it in for the sponsor. Yeah. Bing. Yeah. No. Yeah. Green King.
And you enjoy your beef paste sandwiches tomorrow where you are quad biking or whatever it is that you're doing, won't you?
Funnily enough, I had to go to Tesco to get some beef paste because they didn't sell it at the Centre Park shop. But we
They
did.
didn't.
Yeah, I did. Of course I did.
Unbelievable. You can do a sideline on it now, can't you? They're in a big trench coat with loads of beef paste on the inside of it.
Yeah, see a man with a church clinking away. Yeah.
Your beef
Got
paste.
bottles.
Oh, Monsieur Clinker. Right. See you, Dave. And listen, thanks for joining us on your holidays. I really do appreciate it. I won't forget it.
No, you will, but never mind. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
See you. Love you, Mark.
The Boundary Park Alert System is hosted and produced by Matt Dean and Andy Halliwell for Q-Pod Productions. Visit oafcpodcast.co.uk for loads more info, including how to support us for just $2.99 per month, how to sponsor the show to raise money for the 1895 fund, and to read Arlene's brilliant weekly blog. Please follow and interact with us on social media at OAFC Podcast, and you can help change the game by listening to us on the Fan Hub app along with all major podcast platforms. Please like, subscribe and review the pod to help us climb the rankings and get more listeners. Pushtheboundary.co.uk and oasf.co.uk are where you'll find out all about our official supporters groups, getting involved and continuing to raise money for the 1895 fund. Don't miss the Latics Football Phone-In with myself and Dave Bradley every Wednesday from 8:30 till 9:30 at youtube.com/The Boundary Park Alert System. Follow us on socials at OAFC Phone-In. You can also catch us on the brand new Greatest Manchester Football Podcast live every Thursday night from 8 till 9 on the Greatest Manchester Football Podcast YouTube channel. Follow at GMFootPod for all the details. The title music for the show is by DJ and producer Starion with an R, and for more information visit bandcamp.com/Red Laser Records.